Hi guys, I'm back with another video. This video will include my tips for first timers. So my first tip, stay on property. My general attitude is if I can't afford to stay on property, I'm not going. That being said, you can get really good deals, and I don't think it really is going to end up costing that much more to stay on property if you stay at a value resort versus staying at a decent place off property. Reason being, first of all, parking, you have to pay for parking. If you are staying off property and you're going to the parks every day, you have to pay for parking. Waiting to get into just onto property takes a really long time waiting to get into the resort. I mean, waiting to get onto Disney property and then waiting to get into the park can take a really long time. There are reports of, during busy seasons, the line for the cars, people waiting for an hour just to drive into the park. And then you have to take the monorail or the ferry or whatever to get to the front entrance of the park. And if you're going to Magic Kingdom, it can take a very, very long time. That being said, you then can't, go back to your room in the middle of the afternoon and stay on property. There are tons of reasons, but stay on property. My second tip is don't cut yourself short. Don't assume that one day in each park is going to be enough. It is not even close. We go for generally about a week at a time, and we go to a different park in the morning and in the afternoon. Not enough time. There is so much stuff to see and do, and there's so many great shows and parades and stuff. It is not, one day per park is not enough time. So just know how much there is to do and don't expect to see it all in that amount of time, I guess is what I'm getting at. My third tip is allow downtime. Don't expect to go from morning until night all day, every day. You will be so exhausted, especially for little children. We go back and have a rest every single day between our morning park and our evening park. It is a lot of walking and standing in line too. And we very rarely stand in line. I should say we have our system down so that I don't think we ever really wait in line over a half an hour. But you have the standing, you do have, a lot of walking, and especially for kids, it can be very overstimulating, but I think you really need that downtime, and a lot of people don't realize how much it is. It's just massive. So my fourth tip is plan to do stuff as a family. There is stuff for everyone. Don't expect this to be, okay, I'm going to put my kid on this ride and then wait for them to get off. Because first of all, this is not your little small town amusement park. It doesn't work that way. And secondly, there is something for everybody. The entire concept of Disneyland and then Disney World was started because Walt Disney did not like taking his daughter to a theme park and then letting her go on the ride and him sitting on the bench waiting for her to finish. He wanted something where the parents could ride with the kids. So that's the whole point of Disneyland and Disney World, is to do things as a family. So go into it knowing that, hey, we're doing, all of us, every ride, we're all going on it, assuming you're tall enough. I think that really is something that a lot of people don't realize, and that is what created the best memories for me growing up. Is, the whole family was there. So you have, you're sitting next to your parents, sometimes your grandparents, which is really cool. And, where was I going? I completely lost my train of thought. So that's just something to keep in mind, is it's a trip for everybody. It's not a trip for kids. Okay, tip number 5. Have your dining plan ready before the 180-day mark. You will be able to make your dining reservations online through My Disney Experience 180 days before the start of your trip. You do not have to be on a dining plan to make dining reservations. You can be, but you are able to make reservations at the 180-day mark. And now when I say have your dining plan ready, what I mean is the plan in your mind of where you want to eat, when you want to eat, based on the park hours. Have that plan all made out, or have it all written out before the 180-day mark, so that when you go to make your reservations online, You already know what you're going to do, and it will make it so much easier and so much less stressful. That being said, have your fastpass plan ready before the 60-day mark. So people staying on property can make their fastpass reservations 60 days before the start of their trip. Just like with the dining plan, have your fastpass plan ready in your head, or what I like to do, put it on paper, and I make a whole schedule, which I've showed before, but have that ready to go before your 60-day mark. That way, when you go to make it, you can follow that schedule. And like I said, it makes it so much less stressful to have that thought out ahead of time. Don't go during the busiest time of the year. You cannot possibly imagine how busy it gets. If this is your first time going, I really don't recommend going like the week of Christmas. That would just be asinine. Or don't go during spring break. There are far less busy times of the year. Now, in terms of kind of coordinating weather and crowds, I think my favorite time of the year is probably the beginning of May. That seemed to really be ideal. It was warm, but it wasn't stifling hot, and the crowds weren't too bad because kids were still in school. November I really liked for crowds. The weather was great, but it wasn't, I would have preferred it to be a little warmer. It was probably, we couldn't wear like shorts and a t-shirt all day, every day. We were wearing some like long sleeve shirts and pants and stuff too, which is fine. But to me, Disney World, Florida is warm. I live in Wisconsin, so it's nice to go into the warm. So like I said, May is nice for that. We frequently go in August because of our schedule, our work schedules, and the crowds are pretty decent in the end of August because kids have already started going to school, and a lot of parents don't want to take a big trip right before school starts. But the crowds aren't perfect. There still are a little bit of crowds, but it's not bad, I don't think. That being said, it's as hot as the surface of the sun. You will melt your face off. Wear a good hat. But that's decent for crowds. So overall, if you could swing it, my personal preference is the beginning of May. But I imagine the end of September, beginning of October would probably be very similar in terms of weather and crowds as well. And my last tip for first-timers is let Disney do the driving. I know a lot of people have preferences on whether they're going to rent a car or if they're even driving there, if they're going to use their car, use Disney transportation. I think if you've never gone to Disney before, let Disney do the driving. Just make sure you have enough time for incidentals, you know, if the bus is late or something picking you up, to go from one place to another. But I think that's a really big and important part of the experience, is not having any connection with the outside world. It is amazing not having driven for, you know, the entire length of your trip, not having seen people outside of Disney World, and you start to forget how things are in the real world after you've been at Disney. And that is just such a great feeling. And everybody there is so nice and friendly and helpful, and it's just wonderful. So those are my tips for first timers. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. Bye, guys.